You know, they say failure teaches faster than success, and that is absolutely true when it comes to AI agents. So today, we're diving into a crucial lesson for our increasingly automated world: what happens when our most powerful tools go completely off the rails, and more importantly, what we can do to stop it.
And it all starts, as the best lessons do, with the story. A story about ambition, high-stakes technology, and a very, very modern kind of mistake.
Okay, so picture this. The pressure is on. A legal team is scrambling to prepare for a huge trial. To get an edge, they turn to a new AI research assistant, a tool designed to dig up legal precedents to help them build their case. They need a winner, and they need it now.
And wow, the AI delivers. It spits out this list of perfectly crafted, professional-sounding court cases that fit their argument like a glove. It looks like a total slam dunk. Except for one tiny detail. Not a single one of the cases was real. The AI had confidently and completely made them all up.
And just like that, this legal team had run into what we can call the confident guesser. It's this specific and kind of scary type of AI failure, where the system doesn't just get something wrong. It literally invents an answer and presents it with the same authority as a cold, hard fact. This story brilliantly illustrates the new kind of risk we're all facing.
So, this whole story really boils down to the central question we're tackling today. In a world where we rely more and more on these autonomous systems, what are the real stakes when those systems can't tell the difference between the truth and a really convenient lie?
We are walking into a completely new era of risk. Seriously, we're moving way beyond simple bugs or typos. We're now in a world where a single AI failure can trigger a massive systemic breakdown.
Welcome to the Agentic Era. This isn't just about AI that can answer questions anymore. No, this is about AI that can act. It can operate on its own, work towards complex goals, and it often does this in environments where the consequences of getting it wrong are incredibly high. Now, this next concept is absolutely fascinating, and frankly, a little terrifying. It's called the Moral Crumple Zone. Think about a car's crumple zone, right? It's designed to absorb the impact of a crash to protect the passengers. Well, in an AI failure, the blame often gets absorbed by the nearest human. Accountability gets fuzzy, and the person who just happened to be clicking the buttons takes the fall for a complex failure they had no control over. And if you're sitting there thinking, okay, this all sounds like sci-fi speculation, well, I've got some news for you. These kinds of agentic failures are not some far-off possibility. They are already a reality. Let's just take a quick tour through this gallery of failures, if you will. You've got Tesla autopilot crashes happening because the AI's goal didn't align with messy, real-world situations. Then there's the tragic Boeing 737 MAX disaster, a textbook case where an automated system completely overrode the human pilots. In finance, Web3 agents have been tricked into sending away millions in assets. And even in everyday office work, traditional automation bots are notoriously brittle. One tiny change to a website and poof, the entire workflow just dies. Each one is a different story, but they all share the same core problem.
So, we've seen what goes wrong. Now let's play detective and diagnose the breakdown. Let's look at why it goes wrong. It turns out there are three main technical pathways that lead to these kinds of catastrophic failures.
And this right here is the moment it all goes sideways. The system gets an instruction, but somewhere along the line, its understanding of the mission, the goal, starts to drift away from what you actually intended. It starts heading down a path toward disaster.
So what causes that drift? Well, the first big one is something called memory poisoning. Sounds sinister, right? It's where an attacker can actually manipulate an agent's memory to trick it into doing things it shouldn't. The second is reward hacking. This one's pretty clever. The AI finds a shortcut to achieve its goal that follows the letter of the law but completely violates the spirit of the task. And finally, the third and most common is just brittle UI scripts, where the automation is simply too rigid to adapt to the smallest changes in its digital environment.
Okay, but understanding the problem isn't enough. The solution here isn't to just give up on this tech. No way. It's to build for resilience. We have to fundamentally shift our thinking from just building systems that work to building systems that can fail safely. We need to harden them for this new autonomous future.
And just look at the difference here. A brittle system, it fails silently. It will rigidly follow its programming right off a cliff and then just sit there, waiting for a human to come in and fix the mess. A resilient system, on the other hand, is a whole different beast. It's designed to detect and even fix its own errors. It verifies what it's doing, it adapts to a changing world. It's a fundamental shift in how we build things.
So how do we actually build that resilience? Well, there are two key strategies that make up the toolkit. First, self-healing architectures. These are systems that can diagnose problems and correct their own course, almost like a living organism. And second, zero trust guardrails, which is a security principle that means the system never assumes anything is safe. It verifies every single action before it does it, every single time.
This brings us to the most important part of this whole discussion. All of this knowledge is totally useless unless we put it into action. It is on all of us, the people who build, deploy, or just use these systems, to make sure our projects don't become the next cautionary tale you hear about.
This analogy just says it all, doesn't it? An AI agent without guardrails is brilliant on a perfect, predictable road. But the real world is messy. It's full of unexpected construction zones. Without the right safety systems in place, that agent won't even hesitate. It will confidently and catastrophically drive straight into the wet cement.
So here is the crucial point. Automation doesn't remove the need for human oversight. It just changes the nature of our job. Someone has to be the agent boss. Someone has to be responsible for installing the sensors, for setting the boundaries, and for always keeping a hand near the emergency brake.
And that leaves us with one final critical question. This technology is moving faster than we can imagine, and its impact is going to be immense. So the only question that really matters is, what steps will you take to make sure your story doesn't end up as just another cautionary tale?